Hello again, coffee chat friend. Steve here with a few comments for the day. Just wanted to show you this neat little spot I found to shoot this video here. I'm basically off the side of a mountain, and there's a trail along here, and it's a long ways down there. You can see a little bit of stuff in the background, some mountain vistas with a lot of fog, sort of foggy-ish clouds coming in. That was a pretty neat place. Looks cold, but it's actually not. See, I got bare hands. It's warming up quite a bit here. So, just thought I'd share that with you ahead of time here. Just get this set up in such a way that it's not going to come crashing down. A second. Alright, there we are. Okay, today's topic I wanted to talk about was revolution. And the reason I wanted to talk about that is because a friend of mine sent me an article about Vladimir Putin today and how all the things going on with the oil prices, geopolitics, etc. And I was kind of surprised he sent it to me because I had never gotten that indication whatsoever that he was at all interested in that sort of thing. But I sent him back a little reply, which included was my comment of surprise that he had actually sent me something like that. And I made the point that in my impression, there are people who want to improve their life in some way. I see it as kind of a spectrum that we all go through in part, or one extreme or the other. One is this inner journey, you might say, and the other one is the outer journey. And my impression was that in having talked to many people about this sort of thing is there's some who go on the inner journey. They call it sometimes spiritual, but it's like this inner change that's got to take place in order for me to make a difference in my world. The other extreme is that I see all the problems in the world and I want to try to somehow work with them so that my inner world can feel at peace. I see those in both. I see that the spectrum, right? And we're all, I think, a little bit somewhere in between, whether one side or the other. Now, to me, the intention, I would hope, and I would think, is similar in that we want to have this growth in experience, betterment of life at the end of it all, whether we approach it one way or the other. Now, the article gave me the impression that reminded me rather of this attention to what's going on out there. That the dollar is going down, it's a conspiracy, that Putin can take advantage of it because he knows jiu-jitsu and he knows when to, strike the blow. Because the feeling of the article was that there are forces who are fighting against him, so they drive the oil prices down, which bankrupts Russia, which causes him to concede, and then they take over, and this sort of thing. So, and the banks are all involved, of course. Everybody, all these evil entities are involved with all this going on. The idea of the article was that, let's wake up to this, and let's do something about it. Let's somehow maybe prevent these operatives from doing what they're doing. Well, that's an example of revolution in the typical sense, I would say. There's also the radical, you might say, the revolutionary radical within oneself, who says, I'm going to work on myself. And I remember somebody I know one time mentioning that about this Catholic nun, and the comment was that she's a radical, and it's the farthest thing from what we'd think of as a radical or a revolutionary, because she's like a hermit. I mean, she doesn't know anything about the news even, pretty much, because she's completely closed. But the idea of that would be an example of an internal radical, you might say, or somebody who's gone deep in the contemplation of oneself and is working on that end of the spectrum from their flavor of it, right? And the other one would be, there's somebody who gathers a big army and goes and conquers a bunch of things, a bunch of lands and a bunch of people. That would be the other end of the spectrum of the radical revolutionary. Now, I was looking at it also. It also reminded me too. No, I'll come back to that later. I was also looked up the etymology of the word, and revolution means, in its etymology, to roll back, to do again, volve. Volve means like to flip over, so to go back. And in terms of no matter what approach we take to our revolution, if we're going back, that sounds almost retrograde, right? It sounds like we're going back to where we want to advance. However, if we think about it, we've been fed a lot of crap that's been put on top of us, and we've sort of had this giant mud wrestling match with those who are teaching us, and all this mud is stuck to us. So to go back would be to clean ourselves off. And if we think about it, when we come into this world, for the most part, as far as what other people teach us and so on, and our environment teaches us and so on anyways, we're kind of like a clean slate, right? So I would say that the revolution that takes place within us, if it achieves basically a more of an honest way of living and no BS living, as far as we are concerned, as far as we can see it, then to that respect, we're living our revolution, our successful revolution, and success being the consistent steps forward in our progress, right? Now, I would say that when revolution in our lives, real internal revolution I'm talking about, not so much external revolution, although the internal revolution, I would say, eventually affects our outer world. But starting from that perspective, that's my approach. That would be my approach. What it results in when we revolve is we become back to ourselves, back to what we really are, back to man. And then once we do that in those steps, I'm stamping because I'm almost sliding down the hill here. Once we do that, we then express ourselves in such a way that it is more ourselves. Now, I'm not going to use this as an example for anybody else, but interestingly enough, I was watching, I don't know why it interests me, but I came across this video of an interview of all people, Bill O'Reilly and Marilyn Manson. You couldn't get two icons of difference, neocon to ultra, I don't know what, internal revolutionary, I guess. Now, I can't even name a Marilyn Manson song, but I thought it was a really interesting conversation because Bill O'Reilly, he puts himself forward as this icon of conservatism, this guardian of what's good, and yet, if you watch some of his videos where all of a sudden, there was one video where he goes off, he thinks he's off the air and he starts swearing and throwing his jacket off and stuff like that, so he doesn't have it all together either, right? But he's chastising this Marilyn Manson because Marilyn Manson, he's got the lipstick on, he's got a sailor's cap on, he's got eye shadow and stuff like that. He looks like a freak, right? And Bill O'Reilly is like this high and mighty. What kind of a message are you putting out by dressing that way and so on? And Marilyn Manson at one point he sort of asked, well, why do you dress that way? And it's a good point in a way. I mean, Bill O'Reilly is dressing the way everybody else tells him to dress. He's got this little tie on. What's the point of that tie? The tie is just there because somebody else told him in his culture to wear that tie. Nobody told Marilyn Manson to put that hat on and to put those lipstick on, but something inside of him. Like, he's living more of a revolution in a way, an internal revolution, than the O'Reillys of the world. That's for sure. And once again, I'm not espousing or in any way condoning anything that Marilyn Manson does, because I don't even know what this guy does. But I just thought it was an interesting comment of how somebody who is completely controlled by his surroundings is asking a guy, why do you dress that way? As though the way I'm dressing with this little funny little thing hanging off my neck is somehow proper and what you're doing is not proper. I just thought it was interesting. And I wanted to talk about revolution today because I think there are two real sides to it. There's the internal revolution, the revolving back to what we want. In other words, it seems like we're wanting to go forward always, but sometimes it's like we want to return to some sort of normalcy. And the other end of it is, I'm going to go out there and fix things so that now it can be inside. Okay. I tend to think where it starts is in ourselves and being ourselves. That's how we have the most and greatest effect. Certainly sometimes it's harder to admit, I would agree. It's easier to say, okay, it's because of that I'm so-and-so. And to a great degree that is true. That is true. However, if we're going to be effective in our revolution, where can we be the most effective? I think we can be most effective inside, in being ourselves, in being able to just work on recognizing BS as it is, and what's expected of us versus what it is that we feel and know and reason and consider what is best for us. Once again, great chat today. It's been a wonderful location, I'd say, to be able to do this. I look forward to doing it again, and all the best for now. Until then, my name is Steve. Bye-bye for now.